Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Tom.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
And welcome to our monthly unit on literature, which we're going to be covering for the next 3 days, including today. And our work of literature for this month is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. Maybe you've read it, maybe you haven't. If you haven't read it before, perhaps you've seen the movie. Well, wait. Movies. They actually made The Hobbit into 3 separate movies.
They did. So there are a lot of big fans out there of Tolkien and his books. There's The Hobbit, of course, but there's also Lord of the Rings. So that's the same author. And a lot of people out there really love this particular author. I had a sister growing up who wanted me to read this book. She and I are both big readers. And I tried. I think I was in college at the time, and I just thought, these aren't even real people. But after I saw the movies, I could see the appeal, why people like these particular stories, and the characters are fun.
Yeah, it's kind of fantasy. The way people in England would see it. That might be kind of boring for people here in Taiwan who are used to the fantasy of wuxia 小说.
Yeah, right.
That might be much better, but this is what Westerners kind of enjoy. And it all began with the book The Hobbit. So let's talk about this book there and back again with The Hobbit. We'll read through the entire contents of today's lesson now one time. Bilbo Baggins, like all hobbits, enjoys the simple pleasures in life. However, his world is turned upside down when Gandalf the Wizard comes calling with 13 dwarves. They want to hire Bilbo as a burglar to help recover their treasure, which was stolen by the fearsome dragon Smaug. Bilbo, though reluctant, is persuaded to go with them. Along the way, they have many adventures. Crossing the Misty Mountains, they're captured by goblins, and Bilbo gets separated from the others while escaping. He finds a magic ring that makes him invisible and uses it to escape from Gollum, the ring's owner. Shortly afterward, Gandalf leaves the group, telling Bilbo to look after the dwarves. This he does using the rings to rescue them first from giant spiders and then from an elf prison. By the time they reach the lonely mountain where Smaug sleeps on the dwarves' treasure, the dwarves thoroughly respect Bilbo. Bilbo enters the mountain alone and confronts Smaug. He angers the dragon, who attacks the nearby human settlement of Lake Town. During this battle, Smaug is killed. The men of Lake Town, along with their elf allies, ask for some of the treasure. Thorin, the dwarf leader, refuses and calls for help from other dwarves. He also casts Bilbo out for trying to find a peaceful solution. The dwarves, elves, and men nearly come to blows, but Gandalf arrives in the nick of time and warns them of an approaching goblin army. The 3 groups join forces and a fierce battle takes place in which Thorin is mortally wounded. Before he dies, he apologizes to Bilbo for his deeds. Bilbo returns home, a very different hobbit from the one that set out at the beginning of the tale.
Okay, guys, we're going to talk about the plot, as we always do in day 1 of our literature unit, what the story is about, and what characters are involved. I'm sure a lot of our listeners actually know this already. If you haven't read the book, I'm pretty sure a lot of people out there have at least seen the movies. The movies were very entertaining. Okay, so we've got the lead character. We call them the protagonist. His name is Bilbo Baggins, and he's a hobbit. A hobbit is a fantasy creature. They're not real. They're quite short. They have very long feet. They're known for their hairy feet, and their hands are quite long in comparison with the rest of their bodies. They're kind of out of proportion. So we've got Bilbo Baggins, and he's like most of the hobbits. They love the simple pleasures in life. When you see this phrase, the simple pleasures in life, it just means, good food, good friends, relaxing, has nothing to do with being rich or wealthy. Some people aren't able to just enjoy eating and being around with good friends and family. But that's what we mean when we say the simple pleasures in life.
You could describe a person like that as being very down to earth. They have simple needs. They just want to go to the night market and have a nice steaming hot bowl of beef noodles. And that's enough. They're happy. So yes, hobbits just simply enjoy the simple pleasures of life, down-to-earth lifestyle. However, his world is turned upside down when Gandalf the wizard comes calling with 13 dwarves. Okay, so here we've got the phrase to turn something upside down. Now, upside down means what's up is now down, and what's down is now up. Okay, just like bats. They sleep upside down, hanging upside down inside a cave. But if you say something is turned upside down, that means things have become kind of crazy, kind of chaotic, and kind of complicated.
Yeah, a lot of things can turn your world upside down or make you feel like the world is turned upside down. You can actually move the words around there like I just did. You could say falling in love turned her world upside down. Or maybe you did win a lottery, and you're there with lots of money. That can turn your life upside down, turn your world upside down. There are different ways you can use that phrase. Well, it gets crazy when Gandalf comes calling. When you use that phrase, if someone comes calling, it just means they come and visit you. Something comes calling. You could actually use it in a more not so literal way. You could say, fate came calling or great fortune came calling. Something that arrives in your life that wasn't there before. And we've got 13 dwarves. Dwarves is the plural form of the noun dwarf. It's kind of like the word knife, how we take the F off and we put the VES for a plural. Nowadays, English is becoming sloppy, I think. And so if you look up in the dictionary, you can actually write the plural form of dwarf as dwarfs with just an S added. But this is the correct way to write it. So we suggest you follow this for dwarves. Dwarves, at least in this story, they're a fictional creature, and they're quite short. But they're human, but I guess they're not really human. They're kind of fantasy creatures, but they're quite short, while Gandalf, who is a wizard, is normal size, and so he appears to be very tall in the movie, at least compared to the hobbits and the dwarfs.
This book is filled with fantasy creatures like elves and dwarves and goblins and hobbits.
Right.
So dwarves are kind of short. You're probably familiar with them in the story Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. They're good at metalworking and stuff like that. They're skilled at mining. So in any case, we've got the wizard and the dwarves, and they want to hire Bilbo as a burglar to help recover their treasure, which was stolen by the fearsome dragon Smaug. A burglar normally is somebody who breaks into your home and steals things, but in this novel, they're using the word differently. In this particular case, he's a burglar who's going to go try to steal something. At least he's going to try to get something back that used to belong to the dwarves and maybe other people as well.
Right. So they're wanting him to steal, which I guess maybe the hobbits do that normally. And the fearsome dragon, I think people who have seen these movies or even watched the book, they know who we're talking about. The actor who does the voice of Smaug is the wonderful Benedict Cumberbatch. He's great. So Bilbo, he's reluctant. This is a word we use to describe someone who does something, but they really don't want to do it. So they're unwilling to do it. They hesitate. They really would like to get, just turn down whatever they have to do, reluctant. I once had a bowl of stinky tofu or stinky tofu, chou tofu, and I really was reluctant at trying it because, it just smelled so bad. But I went ahead and ate it because my friend was encouraging me. It wasn't so bad tasting. It just smells horrible. Well, Bilbo, he says, yeah, I'll do it, but I really don't want to. But he's persuaded to go with them to get their treasure back.
Yep, he was reluctant, like sometimes somebody wants you to do a job and you don't really want to.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to do that, but I don't know how to say no. And the other person won't take no for an answer.
Right.
So you end up taking it anyway, and you hate yourself because you did. But in any case, Bilbo's reluctant. No, I just want to stay home here. I like things simple. I'm down to earth. But he agrees to go anyway. He's persuaded. And here in the next paragraph it says, along the way, they have many adventures. So on their way to the forest, the Misty Mountains, and the lonely mountain where the dragon is, while they're going there, lots of things happen. They have lots of adventures. Crossing the Misty Mountains, they're captured by goblins, and Bilbo gets separated from the others while escaping. Now, here are some other fantasy creatures. We've got goblins here, which are kind of like dwarfs, but they're a little different. They're kind of naughty. They're mischievous. And, of course, they're another fantasy creature, and they're organized, so they capture Bilbo. Or at least the dwarves are captured, and Bilbo gets separated because he escapes, but I guess the dwarves remain captives of the goblins.
I wanted to mention something that some of our readers might have noticed. We're capitalizing words that are normally lowercase, like dwarf and goblin and elf. Typically, when you run into these words, they're lowercase. The reason why they're uppercase, I think, in our article is they're actually the names of the characters in the book. So instead of having a real name like Steve or David or John, we're capitalizing these characters in the book. So it's kind of interesting and different. But yeah, I have to say the goblins, they are very small, but they're kind of, well, you said they're mischievous, but they're kind of... they try to cause trouble. They're not the best creatures. So, and if you know anything about goblins, especially during Halloween, you know they try to play tricks on people.
Yep, ghosts and goblins,
yeah.
You'll see them during Halloween. And that brings us about to the midway point in today's lesson. Let's take a break right now, but please stay tuned. We'll be right back after we hear from our Chinese teacher.
Hello, my name is Shelby. 今天来看经典文学《哈比人》。这个故事的主角呢，是个叫做 Bilbo Baggins 的一个哈比人。我们来看第二句的地方。然而呢，他的世界 is turned upside down。Turned upside down 呢，就是弄得乱七八糟、上下颠倒 ，change completely 的意思。他的世界整个都乱了。当 Gandalf 甘道夫 ，the wizard 是巫师，在人名后面加上职业或者形容词，是用来附加说明那个人的身份。Comes calling 就是 comes looking for 的意思，也就是造访、拜访，带着13个这个小矮人一起来造访他。第三句。他们想要 hire 是雇用 Bilbo as 当成是一个 burglar 盗贼或窃贼，来帮助他们 recover 重新获得他们的宝藏。在 treasure 宝藏的后面有一个 which 形容词子句来形容。Which was stolen 是 steal 偷窃的过去分词，被这个 fearsome dragon 被偷了。fearsome 呢，它后面有个字根 some 是表示状态，令人很害怕的状态，那当然就是很可怕的，相当于 frightening 或 scaring 了。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Welcome back, guys. We're talking about the wonderful classic novel called The Hobbit. We talked about how Gandalf came calling. He went to visit Bilbo with the 13 dwarves. They wanted to hire Bilbo. He's a really good burglar. And they want him to recover the treasure that dragon Smaug stole from them. If you've seen the movies or you've read the book, you know that the dragon Smaug is really kind of scary.
He certainly is. So again, they're off on an adventure, so on their way to the Misty Mountains. They're captured by goblins, and Bilbo gets separated from the others. He's not with them anymore. He's escaping, and then he finds a magic ring that makes him invisible and uses it to escape from Gollum, the ring's owner. So as I recall, Bilbo's son somehow ends up in this underground cave or something like that, and Gollum has been stuck in there for many years, and he kind of talks to himself, and he's got this ring, though, that will make you go invisible if you put it on. Somehow Bilbo gets the ring. Gollum, of course, is upset about that. And shortly afterward, Gandalf leaves the group, telling Bilbo to look after the dwarves. So Gandalf, of course, is a wizard. He's got other business elsewhere, so he leaves the group and says, Bilbo, now this is your responsibility. You need to look after the dwarves. You need to take care of them.
So he does. It says this he does, using the ring to rescue the dwarves, first from giant spiders and then from an elf prison. Yeah, they get thrown into the elf prison at some point. And it's kind of funny because the elves are so much taller than the dwarves. So, yeah, that ring actually helps them survive a lot of danger. The giant spiders, they were creepy, but they escaped from them and also from the elf prison. And by the time they reach the Lonely Mountain, where Smaug sleeps on the dwarves' treasure, the dwarves thoroughly respect Bilbo. At first they probably thought, he's some hobbit, and we're dwarves. Dwarves are famous for their skill in fighting, whereas the hobbits aren't, of course. They've got the big feet and the hands and just kind of funny. So, yeah, they finally make it to the Lonely Mountain, and that's the very, very scary home of I always say Smaug, but Smaug. And he is sleeping on the dwarf's treasure. So if you use this word thoroughly, it means completely. I'm thoroughly confused. I don't know what's going on. Completely. Okay, or maybe you've got a dog. We have a dog that likes to play outside and get very dirty. And when we wash Maverick, that's our dog's name, he gets thoroughly wet. And we do as well, because if you're bathing your dog, sometimes they like to shake off the water right on you.
Yeah, they love that, don't they?
Yeah.
But in this case, we've got the word thoroughly, which means completely, as you said.
Yeah.
For example, I could say, I've thoroughly reviewed the textbook, so I'm ready for tomorrow's test. So here, of course, they completely, 100% respect Bilbo. And they're going to invite him over for dinner later on. Maybe they'll have some drinks, have some laughs, stuff like that. Now, Bilbo enters the mountain alone and confronts Smaug. So this is kind of in a cave inside the mountain where the treasure is. And, of course, he confronts Smaug. He faces Smaug. Of course, we want to... Smaug, right? I keep saying Smaug. Smaug will be his name here. But in any case here, to confront, that's a verb, and that means you basically face something that's difficult to face. You need to confront your fears, for example. If you're scared of heights, for example, well, maybe you could go up to the observation deck in Taipei 101 to confront your fears of heights. And if you go up there, maybe you'll get used to it and you won't be so afraid of being in a high place anymore. So here he's going to face Smaug. He's going to confront him and fight him and get that treasure back.
He angers the dragon, which isn't surprising, who attacks the nearby human settlement of Lake Town. So nearby to the mountain, they've got some humans living there, and they're not as magical and they don't have the magic, of course, that the fantasy creatures have. And he kills a lot of people. It's horrible. And during the battle, this particular battle, Smaug is killed.
Oh, no.
So the men of Lake Town, along with their elf allies, ask for some of the treasure. They feel like they've earned it because they helped take care of the big, mean dragon. If you're talking about an ally, this is a plural form of the noun ally, ally. It's kind of spelled differently. If you look at it, it kind of looks like ally, right? But it's ally. An ally is someone who fights with you in a particular war or battle. During World War II, America and England, we were allies. Actually, Russia at that time, they were our allies as well. We were fighting against Germany and Japan later on in the war. Well, I understand why the elves think they deserve some of the treasure. The treasure looks quite lovely. It's a lot of gold coins. But Thorin, he is the dwarf leader. He's got that long beard, and he was a pretty fierce fighter. He refuses. He says no, and he calls for help from other dwarves. He also casts Bilbo out. If you cast someone out, you toss them out of your group or toss them out of a city or country. You don't want them around. And he's doing this, at least Thorin is, because he's trying to, get rid of people who are resisting him. He wants to keep all the treasure, which seems very selfish after these people helped, the 13 dwarves defeat their enemy, Smaug.
Right, so they're all fighting over the treasure. We've got the men and the elves versus the dwarves here.
Yeah.
And then they get rid of Bilbo. They cast him out. They throw him out trying to be a peacemaker. The dwarves, elves, and men nearly come to blows, but Gandalf arrives in the nick of time. Here the phrase to come to blows means basically you're going to start fighting. Everybody's afraid of the day in the future when China and America come to blows. Some people think, hey, a war with China, with America, that's inevitable. They're going to come to blows. Eventually, they're going to start fighting. But in this particular case, they were about to fight over the treasure. But Gandalf saves the day. He arrives just in time, or you could say in the nick of time. If he got there later, it would have been too late.
And he warns them of an approaching goblin army. So the three groups join forces. If you join forces with somebody, it just means you, along with other people, are going to work together. You're a team now, and a fierce battle takes place in which Thorin is mortally wounded. When you see these two words together, mortally and wounded, you know that someone was wounded badly enough to actually lead to their death. So Thorin, sadly, passes away. It made me sad because he's really kind of a handsome actor. Before he dies, he apologizes to Bilbo for his deeds. Your deeds are your actions.
Yep.
And if you use the word deed, it's not positive or negative. So you have to say your good deeds, your bad deeds. Of course, we know that Thorin is apologizing for Bilbo for his bad deeds. He threw him out after Bilbo had done so much to help the dwarves. Well, Bilbo returns home, and he's a very different hobbit from the one that set out at the beginning of the tale. To set out is a phrase we use when we talk about somebody starting a long journey or starting a long adventure. Set out. They set out on their path to success. He comes home. He's learned a lot. He's grown a lot. He's sacrificed a lot. He's experienced sadness, but also joy. It changes you when you go through things like that. Right now, we're going to listen one more time to our Chinese teacher who's going to explain a bit more, and then we'll be back to say goodbye.
第二段我们要开始展开大冒险咯，在第4句的地方 shortly afterward afterward 是之后后来的意思 shortly 很快的这句呢相当于 soon after 或者是 before long 没多久之后呢 Gandalf 就离开这个团体 telling 是省略了连接词在 tell 后面加个 ing 变成分词形态告诉了 Bilbo to look after 是照顾的意思要照顾这些矮人哦他也真的这么做了到第6句的地方 by the time 是在什么之前后面呢他要加一个子句表示在完成什么事情之前他们抵达了 Lonely Mountain 就是孤山后面有一个 where 开头的句子来形容 where 相当于在那座山就是 in which 的意思在这座山里面呢这只龙 Smaug 是睡在他们的宝藏上逗点之后 The dwarfs 呢这些小矮人啊已经 thoroughly 完全地全然地也是相当于 completely 或者 totally 的意思对 Bilbo 是敬畏有加因为在之前 Bilbo 已经救过他们好几次了 在第3段呢，这时候精灵 elf 人类们也加入了战争，而且共同合作打倒了 Smog 那只恶龙，但是他们想要分宝藏，所以我们看到第6句的地方 he 是指 Thorin， 就是这些矮人的领袖，翻译成索林啊，结果要 cast Bilbo out。Cast out 的意思就是把谁驱逐出境，它的3态是 cast， 因为 Bilbo 呢试着想要找出一个和平的 solution 是解决方法，对什么事情的解决方法，就是 solution to something。 我们来看第4段，这时候乱成一团怎么办呢？哎呀，第1句的地方，小矮人啊、精灵啊、人类几乎要 come to blows。blow 是吹或爆炸的意思，这里呢是当成一个动词片语，表示要动手打架 ，to have a physical fight 的意思。好，但是 Gandalf 抵达了。In the nick of time， nick 是缺痕或缺口的意思呢。这个意思呢 ，in the nick of time 就是当成紧要关头，或者是最后一刻 ，at the last moment。而且 warn 警告 then of something 警告了他们一个 approaching goblin army。approaching 是即将来临的、行进中的意思。goblin 我们翻译成哥布林大军，它是一种恶鬼，像人的一种生物。好，这个大军即将来袭喽。我们接着呢，这3股力量当然就是要一起合作，所以呢，我们有看到 join forces， 也可以用 combine forces 来表示，是一种合作或合力的习惯用语。最后当然功德圆满，打败 Goblin Army。最后一句的地方 Bilbo 回去了 A very different hobbit。好 different 是形容词不同的，它后面习惯加个介系词 from， 再加一个名词表示与谁不同。The one 呢后面有一个 that 形容词子句来修饰，句子中的 set out 是出发或启程的意思。这时候的 Bilbo 已经跟他故事开头启程的时候的哈比人大不相同了。以上是今天的讲解，谢谢收听。
Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. So there you have it, a summary of The Hobbit. And next time we're going to talk about the author himself, J.R.R. Tolkien. Please join us then. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.